Welcome to the World of Podcast 2019, Pod Before the Con, presented by Medieval Times. The following is a presentation of D20 Creative Alliance and Con Before the Storm, powered by Wowhead. For more information, go to conbeforestorm.com.
So I'm Frostee, and tonight our panelists on this panel are Allie of Dungeon Fables, Berzerker of Unshackled Fury, Frostee of the Worgen's Howl, Gerissar of Technically PvP.
What's up, peeps?
Clanker of the Tauren and the Goblin.
Hey, friends.
And Toshmifune of the Halfhill Report.
Free Pandaria, everyone.
So I think a great way to start tonight would be you're having lunch during BlizzCon. If someone were to run into you, what kind of food truck would you find yourself at? Let's start with Allie. I'm just going to go alphabetically.
You would. Here's the thing: is I really like food, just food in general, and I would probably be that person just standing back and looking at everything for 10 minutes, drooling over it all because I want it all, and taking forever to decide. Most likely.
So Berzerker, would you be drilling over, or would you be digging in?
Listen, bro, I don't have to come up with a fantasy food truck or any other place down at BlizzCon because there is only one true food truck in existence, and you happen to have access to it at BlizzCon. And that is the Viking truck, and certainly it embodies all of the various entities of Unshackled Fury and our aesthetic, which is going big time on all meats all the time, and that's just what we do with food. You'll see it when I'm tweeting out a bunch of pictures at home of giant meats that I'll be smoking because I cannot have access to the Viking food truck, which has gigantic corn dogs and other things. And if you are there, you had better see this thing, or you're missing out the main attraction at BlizzCon. Forget all the announcements and expansions. And none of that matters. The Viking food truck, that's where it's hot. That's where
that makes me wonder that if corn dogs actually existed back in the days of Vikings, would Vikings actually eat corn dogs?
Hell yeah.
In a very violent manner, I'm sure.
By the fistful.
Rip it off.
Listen, when
Maybe
you're
like
loading up to
steak
get
dogs.
that shield wall going, you gotta be loaded for bear.
And somebody that would definitely be chewing the meat off of the bones so vigorously is our Worgen in the group, Frostee. So where would you be?
You know, Gilneans are more refined nowadays, so you'd probably actually find me at the taco truck because we don't get many of those, in Gilneas. So might as well, get something that we're not used to, some kind of delicacy.
With your top hat.
With my top hat.
And
pinkies out, of course.
That hot mutton taco truck down. That's a keeper. They got a chimichurri that'll blow your socks off.
So Gerissar, what do you eat for esports when you're going through it all?
Well, if there was ever a poutine truck there, I'd be eating there.
Ooh, yum.
Love my poutine, especially with Montreal smoked meat. Mint. But I haven't seen one there in the last couple times I went, so I'd probably end up being with Frostee, sorry, and chowing down on some of that taco and burrito stuff going on in the Mexican shop.
And Clanker, what do the Horde like to eat for food trucks?
Well, for BlizzCon, I have to remember to feed myself. So when I do remember to feed myself, I'm definitely hanging out with my Cataclysm buddy at the taco truck, just chowing down. I mean, because, goblins, street tacos were probably the ones that invented it. I'm just saying.
And we'd probably be talking about our new model, too,
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Tacos, man.
The gold and stuff like that. Yes.
You could probably make more money if you up the price on each one of those by at least 5 gold each.
Oh no, I'm planning here. I'm planning.
Actually, if a proper goblin would probably actually buy them all and then bring them back into and then resell them inside BlizzCon for an increased price.
You have to pay for each shred of lettuce. That's where we get you. It's the lettuce.
And our neural man Toshmifune, where would you be?
Okay, so it really depends on who's waiting, who's waiting in line. Okay, so I got to get this out of the way early. For Tosh, I'm going to be looking. We are noodle folk, so I'm going to be looking for a good noodle truck. If it's Rizak is going to be looking for a short line that's cheap, right? That's who he's going to be looking for. If it's Velmic, I'm trying something different, something new, a little bit, something for little Alice, something for Dowlin, we got to try something different. And if it's Eamon, he's waiting in line in for the Viking truck.
Interesting. I like it.
Good answer. Good answer.
So I can see all this. Oh,
That makes me wonder if anybody's ever considered to making an actual noodle cart and bringing it to BlizzCon.
That'd be something I would do.
I'm sold.
Yep.
I mean, there is a Warcraft cookbook, so
I
we
have
can
it.
make our own noodle cart.
I have it. I made the mold gross spice bag.
Yeah. You just need a cart with a couple fireworks on it, to pop them off every once in a while.
I have a feeling we're going to set BlizzCon on fire this year.
You won't be the only ones. It's okay.
I'm a goblin. It's what I do.
And in tonight's news, there is a breaking fire outside of BlizzCon.
More than usual, they say.
That's not a good California joke right now.
Our state is on fire right
Sorry.
now.
Hit a little
My
too
whole
close to
family.
home.
Too soon.
My whole family. Their
I can
cars
look out
are
my
packed.
window right here and I can see the Carquinez Bridge is on fire. So yeah.
God.
Not good. Not good.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Are you down there early?
I think I'll move us away from that and just kind of say that hit feelings, but I think in the World of Warcraft we have feelings about the game right now. So we'll start with Allie. What is your current feeling on the state of World of Warcraft right now?
Personally, I'm really enjoying BFA. I do think the changes they made in 8.2 and everything with Azerite gear and stuff improved the parts of it that I wasn't really all about.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, I'm still enjoying the story greatly, and I'm still enjoying gameplay aspects like islands. I'm one of those few people that actually really enjoy islands, and I still have fun when I log in.
How about you, Berzerker?
Nice.
How do you enjoy WoW right now?
I enjoy it the same now as I have for the most part for the last many years. I don't think that for myself, I don't dive down into the finer mechanics of the game. That's if you've ever listened to the Unshackled Fury podcast. Navox and I don't really go into great detail on things because that's just not my vibe. I don't really care about how much AP a thing is or how much percentage of a stat. That's for nerds. And
Hey.
I'm a different kind of nerd, not that kind of nerd, right? So I don't care about any of that stuff. I just care about the story. Am I having fun? Do I care where we're going? Is it piquing my interest still? Of course it is. It's great. And all these people out there pretending that they're some kind of lit major and this writing is terrible and this is all bad. And it's like, okay, well, you and your Pulitzer can go out there and write another story. That's fine. That's fine. Be my guest. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm having a good time. There's so many fun threads out there that they can follow and do whatever's coming next. We're in a bit of a lull. The game ebbs and flows. That's what it does. You have a crush of time where you're doing all sorts of stuff, and then it kind of levels out a little bit. It happens. This is a persistent ecosystem that exists out there, and everybody's got their own little corner of the universe that they exist in. And in mine, I'm having a great time. I still love the game, and man, this next weekend is going to be insane. So I'm pumped.
And Frostee, I'm betting it's interesting that Berzerker mentions threads because you've got some new threads coming.
So what Berzerker said, hits it right on the head. The game ebbs and flows, and I'm loving the game. This I think is the calm before the storm. We're getting ready. We kind of know that we're facing N'Zoth and the big threat. This is the time for the denizens of Azeroth to go to their homes, see their families maybe for the last time before they head off to save the world again. And then here we go, another tipping off point. And next week by this time, theoretically, we might know exactly where we're going in the future.
So, Gerissar, since
Yes.
you love PvP, you're probably not liking the idea of the of the war ending. So, what are your feelings right now on WoW?
I am kind of actually looking forward to finding some resolution here. Story wise, I'm a little miffed. Again, it's coming back to the same cookie cutter. I was really hoping when BFA was announced, I was listening to it, and it was like they're bringing back the Horde and the Alliance, and we're going to be clashing, and we're going to be fighting for things. And lo and behold, I still find myself inside a small chunk of water, or small chunk of land surrounded by water, with a really big, bad, rhymes with witch, and we're all supposed to kill her. And now we have a cinematic with Saurfang and Boy King Anduin, Boy Man, holding hands and hugging each other. And I'm a little upset. I was really hoping that the cookie cutter was broken come BFA, but apparently no. It's been made whole again and they're still just chunking out the same thing where it starts out this big clash and then there's something bigger and badder that we all have to come together and kill. And I'm actually really looking forward to this story being gone, moving on to 9.0, seeing what else is going to happen. And if they're actually going to kind of maintain two separate storylines, like they kind of started doing, or if they brought in some new mechanics or some new systems for that in the game system, or if it's just going to be, again, the same cookie cutter where 9.0 starts. It's this whole like us versus them, and then at the end we all come together and have to kill another big baddie. Sylvanas. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know anything. But I'm actually looking forward to the story being gone. The other thing I'm really looking forward to is another system that they're going to bring into 9.0, whatever it's going to be. I just hope that it's not nearly as grindy and as anti-alt centric as Azerite grind has been.
Yeah.
I think BFA has just obliterated so many people and given them burned out in the amount of time that we have to put in just to grind out hearts, just so that we actually have some level of power in our gameplay. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now. Other than that, hey, great. Looking forward to it. Been having a great time. Every time I hop into PvP, win or lose, I'm usually having a great time. Usually when I'm winning, not so much when I'm losing. Still meeting a lot of great people just in various manners. And some other people that I happily mute and never see again because LFG doesn't let that happen. So that's that.
I'm glad you bring up story because I was talking with somebody today who told me that they love the show that Clinker's on and said that they love seeing the story.
Mm-hmm.
And Clinker, what is your feeling right now about World of Warcraft?
Well, I'm skipping through Field of Peace Bloom at the moment, just being very happy that there's so much story this time around. I started my Warcraft journey all the way back in Warcraft 2 when I was a young kid. And so one of the things I've really loved about BFA is it feels like it's gone back to the roots of Warcraft. What does it mean to be, the Horde? What does it mean to be the Alliance? And like, for the first time in World of Warcraft anyways, like the Night Elves have kind of shown their ferocity. There's a lot of things that I really enjoyed them doing again. So I guess I really love the story. I love the fact that people got really into the story, especially with the burning of Teldrassil. There was so much drama. And I really like where everything is going. We've seen Nazjatar, we're going to Neolotha, like, I'm trying not to have my gourd blown here on the stream, but just thinking about all of the cool things we've seen this expansion, I'm really loving the story. I know a lot of people didn't like Azerite gear, but I thought that was a really fun new thing that they tried. And even if it didn't work out very well, it was new, it was different, and I give them a lot of props for trying to break the mold with BFA a little bit. And even if they kind of circle back to their cookie cutter idea of everyone kumbayas at the end, we know that it's not a true kumbaya insofar as, Darkshore is still a mess. Like, Tyrande and Malfurion are, rightfully very upset. That's going to come back and bite us. The old gods are popping up. That's going to be bad. Like, there's so much for me to get excited about, and I hope that everyone else is getting excited about all these little story threads. And I also love what they've done where they've started to split the story, so you start to get different aspects. You get different story on the Alliance, a different story on the Horde. and you kind of see two different perspectives, and I think that's really unique and really cool because I look back to like Burning Crusade and I'm like, oh, everyone gets the same story and it's all just kind of there. But yeah, so I love BFA. I got really, really excited. I got a little overexcited about like the original box art with the orc and the human. I was like, oh, it looks just like Warcraft too. Sitting here like wiping tears away, and people are like, what is wrong with you? So yes, I love BFA for a lot of reasons. It kind of hit home for me for my Warcraft journey, but I'm super excited for everything that's coming. Everything that's here is really interesting to me, and I love digging through all the little quest texts and stuff that I do. So
yeah.
Long story short, it's been great.
If I can kind of come back, don't get me wrong, I'm loving the story. I am. It's just that whole side of PvP.
Not as much.
I think it's
PvP as I kind of thought it was going to be PvP.
It's true. Like we could have done more. I would have liked to see them do kind of things like invasions, which they kind of did, but I would have liked to see them crop out. Like, we had Ashran, we had well, they brought back Ashran, excuse me. I was thinking of Arathi Highlands, but I would have liked to see them have like war zones in the Barrens, like, right outside of Stormwind and Goldshire, something like bring back some really classic zones and really hype the tension, excuse me. But yeah, they could have done a little more, but I kind of like where they had it, I guess, because some people really hated the faction war, because I get that a lot. I get two opinions, like either like, oh yeah, like I really hate the Alliance, I really hate the Horde, let's like hate each other, and people are like, why are there even factions anymore? So
well, yeah, I guess that's kind of depends on the person. There's some people that thrive on conflict, and some people just want everything to be happy, hunky, and dory, and which is fine. Yeah.
Well, I think
nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, that's why we have PvP servers now, or you can turn on a PvP. Now they are the servers. You can either be flagged or not. I mean, you can hug your enemy, or you can stab your enemy. It's up to you.
Well, I think my closing thing that I'll say about the story so far, and I apologize for keep going on, but one of the things that I love about BFA is that the tension between the two factions was really driving the story, and we haven't seen that happen. We haven't seen it be like the core of an expansion for a long time. So that was really refreshing. I was really happy to actually see everyone at each other's throats and have like an actually good reason for it. Because I mean, I look back to like the Argent tournament, right, when everyone's like, but we're still having fun together. So yeah, it's just been nice to have some rather dramatic things happen and have some capitals be lost and characters.
Totally agree. I appreciate the actually having some real loss in the world and not just pretending.
Yeah.
And Tosh, speaking of loss, but you're getting a restoration with the Veil. What are your thoughts right now on WoW?
So I got to tell you, and I got to shout out to my faculty advisor, Professor Talib, who's following along on Twitch. Over our 9-10 year journey with Warcraft, Battle for Azeroth has been, I'll talk about me personally, has been the most excited I have been about the game probably since I started playing, for a couple of reasons. Really, honestly, I mean, we were. I'll just speak for myself. Really, a filthy casual for the vast majority of that time, and it's just really since Battle for Azeroth, we've started really doing current content, current dungeons, current raids. We got into a great guild. Shout out to Darktide for being a great guild and a teaching guild, and also with the Girls Gone WoW North American group. And I discovered that after all this time as a hunter, I discovered that I'm a healer. That's really, really what I love to do. I really enjoy. Yes, indeed, I love being a healer. Discovered being a druid. Yeah, discovered being a druid. So this has really been, like I said, after 9 years, a true journey of discovery during the course of Battle for Azeroth. And The story, for me, I was Berserker. You talk about, take your Pulitzer or whatever. Being a writer, being a storyteller. First of all, it made me laugh. But I've been very, very compelled by the story, by what they've done with it. And yes, I recognize that it's, it's cyclical, right? That we've seen stories of this type before. Kind of on a cycle, right? But then again, I mean, go read the Wheel of Time series, right? It's basically almost the same story, each one of the books. So, but this one was particularly compelling, and really felt like, somebody mentioned, we had real loss, we had real death, not Marvel Cinematic Universe where we just got demonetized. Death where, oh no, don't worry about it, they're going to come back, kind of thing, or at least as far as we know. So I've been very, very happy and contented with the game. Now I'll agree that I don't think the Heart of Azeroth and the whole Azerite power thing. I think this was something they tried, and I agree. It was hideously grindy on alts to the point where I stopped even trying. Just ended up doing on what has become my Druid healer. So that was not as successful as I would have liked it to have been. But no, very, very happy and contented with the game. Terribly excited for where it seems to be going, for all the reasons that have always been, that have already been touched on. This is a very tough section to go last on, by the way, because everybody made brilliant points. I have nothing else to contribute. But no, it's very, very happy and contented with the game right now.
Well, Frez, do you mind if I jump in here with a question for Tosh?
Go ahead.
So as a story guy.
Yes.
How awesome has it been to have so many different forms of storytelling through this expansion, through all of the shorts that we've had, the comics, the books, the full cinematics, and all of that kind of stuff. For you, as somebody who maybe has a better understanding of how story is constructed, do you think that that's something that going that route and having so many different avenues, do you think that helped? Or do you think that hurt a little bit because people are then required to do more outside of the game to get the full picture of what was going on?
I've heard a lot of that. Now I happen to just continuing the what I was saying before, like the EU, the expanded universe, right? I personally love it. Very, very compelled by the cinematics. Please bring us a Netflix series. Please, you've proven you can do it. Please bring us a Netflix series.
Fourth secret panel.
If they drop that during BlizzCon, I am going to poop myself.
Oh, they're going to tear the place. We're all going to tear the place down.
My pants, at least 2 drops.
If they drop that, 2 drops. But I also recognize, and I've heard that critique, if you will, for people that want to consume their story from within the game. That especially I think in this expansion more than any other, you really almost had to have access to at least some form of the EU, of the expanded universe, to get really the full flavor. And I recognize that for some people, that's suboptimal, that's not the greatest thing in the world. But for me, love it.
Amazing.
I'm glad that all of you have brought your feelings out, and it helps you get a baseline for where you are. This next question that I'm curious about, I'm not going to go down the list because I know that not everyone's going to have gotten feedback in an email saying like, hey, this is what I love and what I don't love. I mean, Alessandro sends me that, and I love you, Alessandro. But being content creators, what feedback have you gotten back from your listeners regarding WoW? I'll leave the panel open to anybody who's gotten feedback.
What's feedback?
Well, most of our listeners say that Worgen need tails. So
yep.
I give you that right off the bat.
Can't say I'd argue.
I have one real question actually for Frostee. is when a Worgen gets really hungry, which race in the party do you start looking as a snack first? Is it the human, the night elf, or the gnome?
It's probably the gnome. I mean,
That's what I thought.
easy to handle. That's why we bring Frasley along whenever we have a group house.
I thought you liked me. Oh,
Hey, anything's bite size if you believe in yourself. So
it's fun size.
True.
Frasley, you can just stand on my shoulders and then we'll give them a much more. I'll kick their shins and you can kick them in the face.
Just like in that Snickers commercial. Hey, Mrs. Jensen, you need Snickers.
Oh boy!
Precisely.
Now we need a meme with like a Snickers bar, but with like a gnome head.
gnome head on it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm sure someone can make that happen.
I'm sure they can. Okay, sorry for derailing. Has anybody actually received any feedback though from the listeners? I mean, I have only like 2 listeners, so
I know. So for my main show, like it's mostly, going over Dungeons and Lore and stuff. And so that most of my feedback has been people like the nostalgia and that kind of thing, which is, great because classic. But for all things Azeroth, it seems like some listeners are still really enjoying the game. Some listeners are either burned out because we've been playing this game for so many years, or they're just not really happy with the state of BFA. It seems like it's kind of 50-50 right now from what I'm seeing.
makes sense.
So the only feedback. First of all, I hear we solicit letters from listeners, but of course it's all within the fiction of the story. So really, the only feedback I'm getting right now is why are the Mighty Mooshans having such a lousy season? That's pretty much the only kind of feedback I'm getting. I mean, they're 0-7 going into the final game of the season against the Fighting Fells of Orgrimmar Community College. I mean, this has been the worst season anybody can remember.
I mean, I think
I have nothing.
the 50-50 split, honestly, is kind of the same feedback that we've seen. I mean, over here we peruse this Twitter and anything else as much as we possibly can to see, kind of try to take that temperature. And I think the other thing is just people still don't want that faction divide. I mean, kind of going back to what we've already talked about, but the question is out there for everybody. Do we have a faction divide going forward? Is this just something that are we going to keep yo-yoing back to it, kind of like we talked to at the beginning of every expansion, or is there ever going to be a way to break the cycle? I think we've talked to Kaz and I talked about before. I've talked about with some other people. What if they just decide to like blow up what we know of Azeroth and dump us all on an island that we've never seen before, and we're all there together? We have to be kind of one faction, or maybe we just mix the factions back up again.
Oh no, they're
So
going to turn it into
Pandaria.
Lost? They're going to turn it into Lost?
No!
Oh no!
Not the church at the end.
Turns out they were dead all the time.
I just don't want to be the weakest link and voted off the island. That's all.
Wow, that was a great mashup of 2 different things.
Yeah, I think for Nav and
What'd I
I,
do?
we've done a good job of locking up the prison population as a listener base, but unfortunately, it's harder for them to get information out than it is to get it in. So we don't get a lot of feedback, but we have had some back and forth like others about the story, right? And kind of, I mean, call me a shill. I don't really care, but yeah, we typically will come to the defense of what's going on, and but that's the thing with the story that's as big and unwieldy as this is. You could like and dislike all kinds of stuff at the same time. But yeah, we get a few love letters every now and again. But yeah, so listen, if you're listening to this, listen to Unshackled Fury and send us mail, and we will read it. I guarantee you could send me anything. You could send me a recipe for Peking duck. I will read it on the air just because you send it to us. So we'll make you famous.
In that voice. Oh, yes. I could listen to anything in that voice.
Good. Wow. Now we're going to get 48 recipes for Peking duck.
49.
50.
I'll read them all.
Oh, it's actually interesting. I got some show feedback in one of the most unexpected places. I was doing a raid actually, and I joined my friend's raid group.
That's
And
awesome.
someone kind of shimmied over to me with my character, and they looked at me And they kind of like turned and looked at me, and they're like got a little whisper. I'm like, "Are you Clanker from the Tauren and the Goblin?" I'm like, "Somebody
Nice.
found me in game."
Wow.
So I got just like a tiny bit of feedback where they're like, "Oh yeah, you know, I like the show. I like hearing about the lore and that kind of stuff." But I wanted to give a shout out to Linka. Thank you for finding me in game. That was really cool.
Wow.
I love it. So
Isn't
yeah,
that
no, that was
Isn't that exciting when that happened? That happened to
is.
Talib and I not too long ago. We were out in the world and somebody mentioned the show and we were like, couldn't believe it. We were very excited.
It's I got like all jittery and nervous. I'm like, oh god, someone knows who I am. I can't hide anymore.
She just immediately leaves the raid.
I hope you're ready to heal yourself in the middle of Gerissar.
I'm out.
Slash blush. Log out.
Where'd the healer go?
She got that away.
That's
I
awesome.
just want to interject here for anybody listening. If you know a creator, please reach out to them. You don't know how much it means to creators. Everyone in this room would say that they'll get an email or something like that on their worst day, and your letter could be what keeps them going, podcasting, creating, and stuff like that. So reach out to all your favorite creators.
So true.
Totally.
So true. We love it. I love it. It's actually, the first time someone came up to me like, "Hey, you're Katie from TNG," and I just remember sitting there staring at them blankly. I'm like, "How do you know who I am? Nobody knows who I am." So we love it. I love it. I love when people reach out and ask me lore questions. I love getting into debates about what the next thing is going to be. People fight me.
I mean, and even if you get back like a negative feedback, at least you're not just shouting into the silence, right? Sitting there in front of your microphone and just shouting into the void.
Yeah. I always end my podcast telling people that give us feedback, good or bad, because if it's good, it lets us know what we're doing right, and if it's bad, then we know what to fix. So,
Also, thank you, Alexander, because you always send us so many emails, and we love every single one.
Alexander, thank you. You've
Yes.
saved so many show topics.
Yes, she is awesome. I will say, just on the whole feedback thing, it wasn't me, but my co-host Andolin went into the LFG and was doing some arenas, and actually came across a player as well that they recognized, and they're like, "Hey, are you so?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then they were same thing. Yeah, it's really awesome.
It's a magical moment. Finding
It
someone
really
new.
is. Yeah. It really is.
And Tosh, I like that you mentioned the void. Segue to my
What an awesome pivot. That was a fantastic pivot.
I've been practicing 130 episodes on this. So there's been plenty of speculation on the direction the story is going, and we've talked about it tonight. And especially like the Sourfang cinematic and then the recent data mining of the next patch. What lore and characters do you feel will be at the focus of the next expansion? I'm actually going to start from the bottom this time, so that way Tosh is not the first one not the last one. See, I'm watching out for you, Tosh.
Okay, so this is fantastic. You choose me, last for the hardest one, right, where everybody's ready, and then you choose me for the first. I'm probably the weakest guy on lore in
Thanks,
this entire
Tosh.
panel. Thanks, really appreciate it. So, I mean, I think we've gotten some pretty strong signals, data mining and everything else on where the story is going with N'Zoth and Nyalotha, basically, the upside down. So obviously that's going to be the big framing device, at least from what I've been able to glean in the limited time that I have. But in terms of what I would like to see and what I'm interested in, of course, very excited about the Veil, returning to its former glory. That's terribly exciting. I got to tell you personally, I'm terribly excited about the prospects of Kalia Menethil and Derek Proudmoore. And all of that potential storyline. I got to admit, in a very shamefaced fashion, I heard people talking on another show, wish I could remember which one, about Lillian Voss and what her role is going to be with the Horde. Personally, I'm a big fan of Bane Bloodhoof, and I think he really needs to be next war chief, because I tell you guys, I work in a corporate environment. Committees don't work. So that's just, I can tell you straight up, that's not going to work out for the with Caliamenethil and hey, look, I'm a shameless romantic, right? I'm terribly excited about the fact that Hallmark Christmas movie season is starting, is coming at us, in terms of what's going to transpire with her story. So I really think it's going to be the old gods, the old god thing, and Nyalotha, the whole upside down. I think that's the major framing device. But those things that I touched on, who's going to assume leadership of the Horde? What are we going to be dealing with Sylvanas? Is she going to turn out to be just the greatest anti-hero that's ever been in the game? That's where I see it going, and where I'm excited and interested in going. Unless y'all just want to come back to Pandaria, it would be in a nice way this time. In a nice way.
Do you want us back?
Yeah.
Do you want us back? I mean,
last time a bunch of
places.
There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, we're kind of hoping, maybe. So that's the thoughts for me.
So Clinker.
Oh boy.
Since you cover a lot of lore, what are your thoughts?
How long do we have? I'm just kidding. I'll try and keep it brief. So I'm a big anti-spoiler person, so I try really hard not to look at all of the spoilers, which is really weird for a lore person, I guess. I know for a fact that we're going to see Wrathion again, because people are like, oh my gosh, look at his new hot model. And I was like, oh no, I can't unsee this. Sorry. I love Wrathion. He's a great person. Well, I probably won't be a great person, but we think he's a great person for now. So yeah, so some minor things have been spoiled, but I think the lore is going in a really interesting direction. Again, so I've tried very hard to not look at spoilers, not look at things that are coming. I'm in a spot where I'm not really sure what the new expansion could be. Like, are they going to pull a Pandaria or a Warlords of Draenor? Like, are we going to be completely surprised and just go into a completely different direction? It's kind of hard to say. And I love that about the story right now, is that they've kind of been keeping me on the edge of my seat, and they have so many little like story tendrils. I'm always duped. I'm like, I don't know which one to follow. I'm like, haha, this is definitely the lead. And then it's not. So I'm more often than not, I'm wrong about like what's going to come next, but I'm definitely hoping for an Old God expansion. Because that would be super neat. I know that there are some people thinking that the next expansion may have something along those lines. I don't want to spoil things for people that are out there, because I hate spoilers.
Me too.
But no, that's all right. This has been pretty good so far. But I think what I'm really interested in is where Sylvanas is going, and I love that we don't really know. Like, we're still in the dark about a lot of the deals she's made. What is she doing? Is she going to be an ultimate bad guy? Is she, the misunderstood good guy? Like, we don't know what her end game is or her end goal. And so I really love that. And it's hard for me to say, like, it's going to go one way, because I know if I say something, it's going to go completely the opposite direction. So I'm trying not to shoot myself in the foot here.
Say what you want to have happen then, so that what you want to have happen will happen.
See, also, we don't want to have, like, it's like, oh, hey, we should put this person in War Chief, because I've been looking at all the vacancies lately, and I'm like, whoever stays there hasn't been there for very long, so maybe not Bane. But we can bring Vol'jin back, because I would like that. Because it's still too soon, and I miss him. Bring him back, dang it.
But yeah, and if they kill him off, he's already died anyway. Like,
yeah, or he could be a Loa. That would be awesome. Okay, that totally like
interesting.
Spiraled out.
I like that idea.
That is interesting.
I don't want to dive too deep in the lore, but if you do his story quest, when Zalzane resurrects again, he's like, oh no, you can only be this powerful if that. And I was like, yeah, he's definitely a Loa. So at least that's the thought. So it'll be interesting. He's made out of light. Sylvanas is going into ultimate darkness. I'm like, there could be a thing where Vol'jin actually comes back and isn't just a really confused spirit that just, carrying around his urn of his ashes. And I'm like, when? I can't get this out of my bags, and I won't delete you because I love you. So hopefully something will happen with this giant urn of ashes Clanker's been carrying around for a year and a half.
So Gerissar.
So I didn't answer any questions, but here we are.
Hey,
I want to vote Clanker for president, because she's able to talk a whole bunch but not really say anything.
Wow.
Zing.
Everybody all right? Everybody okay? Everybody stay calm.
Oh,
You okay, Clanker? You need to talk? You all right? Take a knee. You all right?
I'm good. I'm a goblin. We just talk and nothing really happens.
so Gerissar, after you drop that mic, and please don't drop mics, they're expensive. Can you give us your answer to this?
My answer. Speculation on where the story is actually going to go. I'll be. I'm like Clanker. I don't actually. Gotta make sure I'm pointing the right direction here. I'm like Clanker. Am I pointing? Yeah, there you go. I'm pointing the right direction, I think. Anyways, I'm like her. I don't like seeing the spoilers. I like playing the game as it comes through. Yeah, just go this way and that way. Now, where can I put this? So during Legion, there was the expansion of the light. There was the light demon. There was the people that came back from the storyline that were infused in light. We saw what Anduin was able to do and bring the light in, and then that launched into BFA, where we really saw how much he could really reach into the light. And then, of course, the antithesis to that is how much Sylvanas had delved into the darkness. Now, at the same time, it seems like this whole storyline, Sylvanas has been really driving towards screw everybody. She's only for herself and the undead, the Forsaken, and really trying to carve a place where they're all safe, or so it kind of seems. Now, wherever she's going to go, I guess on the other side, there's been more and more shadow coming in, and I think we're really seeing that with some of the stuff that they're talking about for 8.3, where we're going to start having the ability to not only contend with corruption of the old gods, but also be able to bounce through the Shadowlands. And so I really think that whole possibility of going shadow side is an interesting idea. Now, the only thing I can't figure out is, and because I don't really understand it, is the Shadowlands basically Azeroth as we know it, but just a alternate universe of it, and then we're just going to be popping in and out, which would be really, really, really cool. Now, the other thing I'm kind of wondering is, with seemingly the Night Elves losing Teldrassil and it pretty much being only Horde on the one continent and Alliance on the other continent, is this the time when we're actually going to be having sea battles and not this little island stuff, but actually moving into building some sort of a sea battle idea and building our own boats and creating some sort of a war on the waterfront?
Give me back submarine turtles.
Right?
Sorry, those are my favorite. Warcraft 2. I'm gonna be quiet now.
and Hermit to the sea.
So those are those are the questions that are in my head. That's where I'm kind of wondering where things are going. And if that's the case, then I have a feeling that we're going to be done with the old gods, because the old gods that were trapped inside Azeroth, because the Titans really didn't know what else to do with them, I think we're almost done with them. But then there was the other side, which is the whole shadow side, which was the opposite side of the light, according to the whole sphere of life and elements and all that. And so now I'm wondering if we've hit that point where we're going to be so powerful as heroes that we're going to have to delve now into the shadow side to do whatever we need to do over there to get rid of that, to save Azeroth or save the universe. I'm just kind of curious, though, at one point, there's going to be a point where we're going to become, I think, the antithesis to the balance. Because if you kind of look at how I have the first Chronicle book, and it kind of describes what the whole idea behind the universe and the extended universe of Azeroth was, is that everything was supposed to be in balances. So at some point, I'm wondering, I'm wondering if we are going to become the bad guys, because we are going to be so, yes, thank you, Clanker, so powerful that in fact we are going to actually break it, and it's going to be almost like another universe that starts with an S in one word and a W in another word, where there's darkness and light, and it's going to be kind of that, where eventually some balances are going to have to come into play. So we might see Sith Lords, maybe.
Ah.
Okay,
wow.
maybe. Anyways,
The ultimate crossover.
yeah.
So Frostee, seeing as your faction leader was called a dog by Sylvanas. What are your speculations?
He, yeah, this is not the first time that Sylvanas has, tossed casual insults at Greymane. He's not going to take it for much longer, of course. I guess I could invoke the "to the ends of the earth." He's going to chase her down, I think, at this point. I still think in the future he's going to get that killing blow, but I don't know. That's just been me. I always think that's
I hope
gonna
he
be.
does.
But in the end, for the next expansion, I don't think honestly that we're done with the old gods yet. I think that if you're on the PTR and you see this new system that they're using to replace Titan forging and stuff, like I don't think that they're just going to introduce this whole new system and then it goes away in one patch. So the other thing about that for the next patch, I want to kind of think in terms of what I want to see and connecting it with the old gods. And there are things called the Dragon Isles that we have talked about for a long, long time, but we've never seen in the game, which supposedly had temples to the old gods. So something that's very interesting to me that I'd like to see, and a lot of other people out there. I don't really want to go like super far into depth just because I don't know how much everyone knows or has read up on it. So
Clanker, turn your headset off. Go ahead.
And I think it's definitely time that we finally see Murazond. If you're familiar with who he is, it's time. Like everybody wants to see him. Bring him.
And I see somebody who would be perfect at doing old god ballads. Berzerker. So Miss Medi's been saying that you're holding back an old god ballad, but
I got some odes to some wicked stuff somewhere, I'm sure.
So where do you see the lore going?
Like every other idiot, I'm going to go out here on a limb and say some stuff that's going to be totally wrong, but let's do it because that's what we're here to do. Three things really. The first is whatever the culmination of Sylvanas' story is, right? Because at once upon a time, we had Garrosh, kind of went through a couple of expansions being whatever he was. Then you had Gul'dan. He was whatever he was through a couple of expansions. Now you have Sylvanas being whatever she is through a couple of expansions. So I feel like there's some culmination there that needs to happen, whether it's her defeat of death, her becoming death, her whatever it is that she's trying to do, be the new Lich Queen and make more Valkyr. I don't know.
Ooh.
But there has to be some kind of next step because we have been, this is a family-friendly show. We have been teased a lot in ways that you usually would have to pay for. So, I mean, there's a lot of teasing going on with this story, and there has to be a payoff at some point, or else I think people will legitimately start jumping ship. All right, so that's one. Two, you don't bring back the dragon aspects because it feels good. You do it because you got a plan or there's something going on. So Dragon Isles, let's do it, baby. These things were in the alpha files way back in eons ago. Let's do it. Let's see them. Let's see what's going on. Rathion, he's a sexy mofo. He's got the Jason Momoa vibe going on right now. I'd do it. Why not? Let's roll. Let's get it going. Dragon Isles. And, we're basically building a new demon soul with this Heart of Azeroth and empowering it with 5 different dragon flights. I don't know if that's intentional, but it sure looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. Last but not least, listen. You also don't introduce the daughter of Bolvar Ford Dragon without having some kind of a plan.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
there's got to be some Ford Dragon something that the Lich King is around. I know at one point it was supposed to be secret that he was still around, but everybody seems to know. So that secret was horribly kept. I don't know who told who, but that memo got leaked. So I would think that there has got to be some kind of, maybe some old god coming in from the back. Because, old god Lich King connection, that exists. So you've got old god Lich King, Ford Dragon something, a little bit of Sylvanas over here. Maybe doing some old god stuff too. Maybe becoming partially old godded. I don't know. And then yeah, you've got all these various parts coming together with the dragon flights. I don't know, doing whatever business they've got. But yeah, it's somewhere in that vein. That's where I think we're going. So battle on top of Icecrown Citadel with all 5 dragon flights. Sylvanas with the Black Blade of the Empire. somehow does something and becomes a Lich Queen. There you go.
And someone
Okay.
I know,
Heard it here
Sounds
first,
good.
folks. You heard it here first.
someone I know that would definitely be in that battle with the rubber chickens wearing an ugly Lich King Christmas sweater would be Allie.
Who says it's ugly? I rock that business. What are you talking about?
I'm not calling you. I'm saying it's so. You're beautiful. I'm not calling you ugly.
When it's
No, the
holiday
sweater, the
sweaters,
sweater.
ugly's
Yeah,
the
sweater.
compliment.
Ooh.
Compliment of the century.
Can you Titan forge an ugly sweater?
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
And I won't put my foot in my mouth like I have on other streams. Allie, what is your
But you're
speculation?
so good at it. So I have a few. I'm really excited about this next expansion because I feel there's just so many different ways it could go.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of I'm kind of with Berzerker in that I think we're going to see a little bit of everything. I know the big leak right now is Shadowlands. I don't think it's going to be just Shadowlands. Shadowlands. It's not going to just be Shadowlands. That'll be part of it. And I think Bolvar is going to help us get into Shadowlands and we're going to do stuff over there. But I really do think we're going to be seeing a return of the dragon aspects because of, Wrathion and Dragon Isles. And if you are leveling up your neck for the Heart of Azeroth, you get little quests along the way that might involve certain dragons. And I'm not going to drop spoilers, but all these things make me think that we are getting a return of dragon aspects, maybe even infinite dragonflight. And I have this working theory in my head that the next expansion is not going to be called Shadowlands. It's going to be called something like Revenge of Azeroth or Revenge for Azeroth or something like that, because I think there's just so many different forces between, old gods and you got the Titans and you got, your dragons over here and you got whatever Sylvanas is doing over here. And there's just so much stuff going on that I think it's just going to just come together in one big ball of something and it's going to be awesome. And I'm very excited. And I would go into more detail, but I'm trying really hard not to go into spoilers. So there you go.
I think the real question is, are we going to see Azure Ghost hitting on the Spirit Healer in the next expansion?
I hope so. I think that would be awesome.
That he was in a quest chain, for those of you that don't know. Chilling out in the Shadowlands. You had to go get him, and you're like, dude, we need you. And he's like, nah, I'm just going to sit here and hit on the Spirit Healer.
World of Warcraft, thirsty dragons. That expansion is crazy.
I like it. It's good. It's good.
Explains a lot of the attire I've seen on them.
Well, and if you do look at the banner for WoW at BlizzCon, it is that's Warcraft, but it is a scantily clad night elf. So you never know. But
Well, now here's the thing, though. If you really want to look at it, the last year's BlizzCon for the big art that they had for BlizzCon had a bunch of people on it, but it had Daughter of the Seas as like the main person to it. Now this year it's Sylvanas, and she's pretty much all by herself, if I'm not mistaken, which kind of makes me think that this next expansion is going to be probably going to start with her, just like this expansion started with Daughter of the Seas, but we'll see where that goes. So, just drop that one over there.
Just gonna sit this one right here.
yeah. That's a really good mechanic. I like that panel gameplay. I like it.
Here we go. Here's the pivot.
All right.
Stand by, everybody.
Well, and
Brace
the first-
yourselves.
So Tosh, you were the first one to speak up, so I will.
Oh,
I'm coming for everybody. No.
Nobody to blame but yourself.
Da-da-da-da.
Okay,
So-
all together now. 2, 3, not it.
okay. You have to be a certain age, right? You have to be a certain place to remember that.
I don't remember that.
I'm still 8 at heart, so whatever.
It works. It works.
By the way, I just have to say this. I've been thinking it the whole. Anybody else getting the very definite Brady Bunch feel here with the screen layout? Like we're all.
Chat already mentioned the Frasley bunch, so.
Oh, did I miss that? Okay, sorry. All right. I'm not
you,
seeing
Xandar.
chat, so.
And Frasley's not gonna sing.
There was a story.
No,
No,
Frasley.
he is.
No,
Yes, he is.
No,
He's-
no.
yeah,
He is
he
very
is.
Marshall-like, though.
Shush.
Love it.
Shush.
Love it.
So
Oh,
Tosh,
wait, wrong side.
wait. Would I be Alice Anyway, Tosh, what kind of changes to gameplay do you believe we'll learn about at BlizzCon?
Okay, I'm glance at my notes. Okay, so what do I think? Well, I think, thank God, I'm trying to be sensitive to spoilers, but I think the signs are all there, and I guess this falls under gameplay, but the non-race specific faction alignment. I mean, nod your heads, make a signal, do something. I mean, everybody else seeing that, sensing that. No, I'm all by myself on that one. Nah, I'm seeing. Oh, come on, guys. Why else do we need the little Horde and Alliance symbols next to our character on the login screen now? Come on.
Because
There's
I need
definitely
someone to hold
something
my
with
hand
that.
every second and tell me who I am and what I'm doing.
Because what would all those people in Arathi Basin be doing if we got rid of their battleground?
Oh, valid point. Valid point.
Still farming for mounts.
I mean, in terms of gameplay itself, I'm a little bit like Berzerker. I've got my rotation, right? Once I get my 6, 7, 8 key rotation down, gameplay because I don't PvP because coward. I don't PvP, so sometimes other than optimizing my my rotation, the kind of that end of the gameplay is not as significant to me. So, but I think probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing, that I'm seeing and thinking about is the non-race specific faction alignment, which I think is going to be very interesting. Talif and I were talking about this, as we were kind of talking through the notes. What does that mean for starter zones? What does that mean for that type of thing? I mean, we can't all go Pandaria, to where you can't leave the starter zone until you make a choice. Unless you're double agent, you just stay there forever, and you level cap by mining and doing herbing.
Yep.
Which is the most zen thing I have ever seen anywhere in the world in life. We were there. We went with him when he did his most recent level cap. We were there.
This should be locked up.
What's that?
This should be locked up. That's insane.
No, come on, man. That's pretty namaste
the sweet
right
release
there.
of death before that.
No.
Just make one. It's just one decision. That's all he has to do is just make one choice.
Come on. Do you guys not see the beauty of what he did? Come on.
Don't get me wrong. It's
that's
amazing.
not
having to pick a restaurant.
That's but honestly, probably this is the area where I could kind of have the least amount to contribute. But I think what we're going to see that's probably the biggest thing.
Cool.
And Clanker, how about you?
Well, it's tough because, again, like everybody else here, I kind of have my own thing that I focus on, which is usually the lore, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy game mechanics. I just don't tend to enjoy or dislike them to the extremes that I see in some communities. So it's kind of tough for me to say, I think we're going to see X or Y. One of the things I really enjoy about the latest expansions, though, is that they have been experimenting with new things. So I think the new expansion is probably going to bring some new thing with gear. Like, I know that's really vague, but I'm hoping it'll either, like a new Titan forging aspect, or like I happen to see that there's something that they're going to do with corruption. I know they talked about that on the video for 8.3. Like, there's going to be something cool that they're going to do. And it's going to, I'm hoping that it will introduce, like, weave together lore and mechanics. And I always love when they do that. I get way overexcited. I love raiding. I love watching people die in mass because we can't figure out mechanics.
Wait a minute. Aren't you a healer?
I kneI liked you.
Are you a healer?
Oh no! My keyboard disconnected. Everyone dies. No, I don't tend to. Well, I've killed a raid group a couple times, but that's a different story. I am an old god. Okay. You heard it here first, folks.
That's the mechanic. You become an old god, and then it's
quick question. Just because you made me think of this. Who here has accidentally pulled a boss because they fell asleep with their finger on the W key?
I've only played a boss as a hunter, but not as
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
definitely happened. Yeah.
My dog
Sorry
definitely
for
killed the
derailing.
entire group. So,
What? Your dog did?
all right, brief
Okay.
story time. When I was raiding back in
I gotta hear
Warlords of
this.
Draenor, I was raiding back in Warlords of Draenor. I had a puppy. I love her to death. Her name is Kina. She's a golden retriever. And I was in my arts and crafts room, and I was like, okay, it's raid time. I'm sitting on the futon, and I'm like, what? My puppy is being unusually quiet. I'm like, that's always a bad sign. And so we're about to do a Galacris pull, and we'd been stuck on Galacris of everyone for months, right? And I kind of peek around my laptop, and here she is chewing on an ink pen. She's black, like she's a blonde golden retriever. She is black. Her muzzle's black. Her paws are black. She looks like a Dalmatian. And I freak out. I throw my computer, and they pulled right as I was throwing my computer. And I was gone for like 10 minutes just trying to wash her off because I thought, it was a toxic pen. And so I was like, oh God, her tongue is black. Everything is like a tiny spot on the ground. I come back 25 minutes later. Everyone's like, we all died multiple times. Where were you? And I'm like, well, so. And that's the story of how my dog killed 25 people in a game.
Well,
Your Ted,
well done.
that was amazing.
She has street creds.
Let me clip that so it just says, so that's how my dog killed 25 people.
Yeah. I love my dog.
So, Gerissar.
Yeah.
So I know that you haven't killed 25 people with the dog, but you've talked with some devs recently about PvP.
I did. Which
So
one?
did you get any secrets from them on where stuff's going, or
No, they are the worst for giving secrets, and the worst for giving time. It's like,
It's kind of their job, though. I mean,
yeah.
Like you asked what time it was, and they just refused to tell you.
No, like I wanted to talk for like an hour, and they gave us like 30 minutes, and like hard 30 minutes. It was like it was like prison almost. Anyway, no,
Number one listener base.
Just wondering how you hear their feedback through the plexiglass. That's anyway. No.
Smuggled in cell phones, and don't ask how.
Oh,
hey, I've
Any-
been to prison,
any-
so I can speak.
Anybody watched Deadpool 2? I think we know the answer. All right. So, sorry, derailed. No, the guy was great. We talked about a lot of stuff. Basically, the part of the conversation was because at the time there had been from 8.0 to 8.1 and then into 8.2. By 8.2, they were starting to see some good cycles on hot fixes and new gear changes on the PvP side because how the PvE items had really affected PvP in 8.1. And there was a huge delay in lag time in responsiveness. So a lot of our focus was on that at the time, which I think was valid in that when the conversation came up, that they didn't just quick band-aid, but they actually took a hard look at the problem and try to figure out a solution. And then that's why you start seeing now that there's some items that are PvP that are almost a counter to the PvE items. The question that we have, that I've seen in the PvP community right now is with these new 8.3 items that are showing up on all the Wowhead and the MMO champion and all that. Is there going to be a counter for that in PvP, or how is that going to work? Because it's actually looking like if you take some of these items, it's actually going to create a DPS decrease. But then by taking them, if you have enough of them, it does this other thing, which then will actually give you a DPS increase. So there's going to be this weird yin and yang spot where people are going to be getting gear, but they're not going to be putting it on yet because they don't have enough of the corrupted items to then do what they want to do. Or maybe they will. And then like some of the other stuff, like that whole ability to create a little portal and walk through shadow space and then pop out on the other side. Imagine what that's going to do in a BG or in an arena.
Yeah.
wow, yeah.
And that's just like, if they let that go through, is just kind of mind boggling. So, but at the same time, it's going to be it's going to be intense, right? Because if it actually shows a window on the other side, you actually see the black portals, and you see somebody go in one side, you know where they're going to show up on the other side. So I guess you could say that's counterable. So I actually have a good point with Tosh there. I like your idea about how the question about whether or not we actually need factions anymore. I kind of joke about it as kind of like the hard line that we take as like PvPers, but aside from BGs, that's about the only time you're actually faction fighting, unless you actually go out and do some world PvP and throw in your flags. In arenas, you're playing against your other players. In BGs, that's the only time that you actually are fighting the other faction. But half the time, the other faction grabbed a mercenary buff, and popped over on the other side because the queues are faster, and then they get bonuses and that. So, I mean, for all you know, you're actually fighting alongside the Horde against the Horde in a battleground, and you really don't know.
See, by the way, if you don't mind if I jump in there,
Go for it.
I actually, I mean, I like the factions. I like the idea of the factions. My point was, I think they're going to decouple race and faction, and also, for more allowance for cross-factional play, cross-faction cooperative play, and I think that's all to the good. Now, like in real life, I would give almost anything for a viable third party. So that was one of the things early in this thing. I was like, okay, are we going to see a schism? Are we going to see, is there going to be is Varrock Sourfang going to break away and pull some sort of a insurgency within within the Horde, that type of thing. But I think the factions are with us, and I like it. So I think it's just the indications, at least the tea leaves I'm reading, is that they're just going to do that decoupling. So I think maybe the only one that's just going to be most independent are going to be the Forsaken, and they're just going to be their own thing.
I think, if you guys don't mind me jumping in here really quick, it's interesting because I'm the opposite. Like, I really don't want there to be the decoupling of the factions, mostly because that drives a lot of the narrative. The conflict between the Horde and the Alliance is kind of what, to me, lies at the center of Warcraft. Warcraft. They're at war with each other. They don't get along, and it would kind of muddle the waters a bit. I feel like it would muddle some of the identity of Warcraft if we do that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, they're trolls in Stormwind. That's fine. Like, I like to think that at the heart of it, even if people work together in World of Warcraft, there's still a lot of bias. There's still a lot of wrongs that have happened on both sides. And so I don't want to see the factions disappear, because I think, as I said, it really drives the narrative. It really gives you that sense of, I belong here with the Horde, and like, oh, those, where he's like, oh, the gnomes, like, I'm a goblin, like, oh, those gnomes, they always think they're better than us, but they're not. Our explosions are always bigger. So it's interesting. I like, part of me likes the idea, because I know that's something players have wanted for a really long time. But I mean, if I don't mean to call it to a different game, but like when I played some Final Fantasy, that was one thing that I just really didn't enjoy about it. I'm like, everyone's kumbaya, like everyone's against this one thing, and that didn't feel interesting to me, because it felt like there was a big part missing. It was missing conflict within players. Like, that's just kind of my little, I don't know, aside. So I wanted to throw that out there for other people that are like, oh, I don't know, I don't like that.
And I'd say, as much as it seems like something viable, I think we've already seen what the outcome was when they muddied the waters as to the whole Horde versus Alliance faction during Burning Crusade and Shattrath, when you had Aldor and Scryers, and you had people where they were in the same faction, but they were actually against each other, because if you were a Scryer, your friend who was in the same guild could be Aldor, and you were no longer friends because you had sided with the other side of the city. And that got really nasty. And I think they would have a very tough time to suddenly say, like, hey, hey, Frasley, I like you, but I'm actually, although I'm human, I'm going to become a Horde player. And Frasley's going to be like, no, I'm gnome. I'm going to stick with my Alliance buddies. I'm like, all right, well, I'll see you in the battlefield. Yeah.
Because that never happens in real life.
Let's just fracture into race-based factions then. Let's just have like a ton of factions. Just go crazy with it. No, the
Goblin
Gnomish
best
faction for the win, right?
They're kind of doing that already with these new ally races. We were going from having one race an expansion to and then skipping an expansion to now having how many this expansion?
I think we're up to 3 if we count the Vulpira coming at the end. Vulpira and Mechanomes, I think, are supposed to come at the end of 8.3.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yay!
I'm still mad. I wanted Guild Goblins. I'm sorry for everyone that loved the Vulpira. Guildlings make way more sense.
Isn't there like 4 or 5 per side now?
You think we would have recruited them, sometime by now?
Yeah. Why did it take this long?
Well, I mean, Vulpira are foxes, and Worgen are kind of like foxes.
Whoa,
Sort of.
whoa.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, it's actually interesting. One of the cool things about the allied races that I've loved is that I think what they're doing, it seems to me at least, that they're pairing each race with an allied race. So like the trolls get the Zandalari, gnomes get Mechanomes. You can kind of follow it from there. But it also gives you this great opportunity to bring races in that I think should have been there from the beginning, like ogres. I'm still really mad about that.
Yeah.
Ogres are part of the horde. Where are they?
Can we have like the twin-headed ogres and like 2 people can control them?
I'm ready,
you mean
Master.
just-
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready.
just like in HOTS, right? That
Oh
was
yeah.
fun. That was fun.
2 people have to simultaneously create a character and play it all the time.
That was an April Fool's joke originally back in vanilla. That was a joke of the ogre.
I remember. I wonder then. Do you get like I'm thinking that come the end of BFA we're not going to get any more alliance or any more ally races. I don't think we're going to get any more races after this. What do you guys think? I'm out to lunch there.
I think we will, but one of the things I think that has been, for me, just in my opinion, I wouldn't say it's upsetting about allied races, but it feels like there's a flood of them right now. We're being a little bit overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I like to think about when I think about, Horde versus Alliance is they tend to have, or they used to have, very distinct silhouettes. Like, you'd have the hunched trolls and hunched orcs. You'd have, like, some of the humans, like, all the silhouettes were very distinctive on both sides. And that kind of allowed you to be like, oh, the Worgen look very different from the Goblin silhouette. And the Vulpira share a similar silhouette to the Goblin. So they've kind of stayed similar in some aspects.
Yeah.
But it feels like they're just throwing a ton of options at us, which is great. But then it also feels like we kind of lose the roots of, hey, these were like the original factions. These are part of this faction and these are part of this faction.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably going to
Agree.
slow down on the allied races. That being said, I love allied races, so I think it's fun for them to bring new ones in. But I'm really hoping that this next expansion, we get a new class to play, because it's usually like class race for every expansion or so.
Stick a pin in that. I'm going to come back with something like that. I just have two words to add to that. 2 words to add to this conversation. Tuskarr and Tortolan. I don't know if I just don't know if I happen to like,
I want to be
on the
Tuskarr.
heftier side. I just happen to be a fan of on the heftier side races, but Tortolans and Tuskarrs.
And I mean, we actually have a great, like, I'd say a frame, like a skeleton, if you will, for the models, because we have Kultirans now, right? So we have new body frames that are coming out. We have new animations. Things have gone really far, and I mean, like, the Zandalari are based off of the Night Elves, but even at that, they've done some amazing things with the models they have. So I'm always really excited to see what they're going to do next. And basically now anything that pops up can be an allied race. You're like, look, that rock, it's going to be an allied race. And I'm like, well, maybe.
Frazzly, you have completely lost control of this panel. I don't even remember what the original.
Well,
gone down a Vulpera hole.
I'm seeing Tiber though in his comment about Centaur in chat. I'm just like, yes.
Oh
Sorry.
gosh,
Let's bring it back to the 2 OG races. Clinker, you might agree. Quillbore and Knowles.
oh,
Quillbore got new models.
I'd have to disagree that Murloc should be in there.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
okay.
Oh my God.
No. All
Yeah,
Murlocs must die.
so I logged into my Worgen alt now, and I've kind of sniffed out where the original question was and who we have left for this question.
I'm sorry.
My bad. I'm known to derail things, so I'm just
Hey,
gonna.
This is the worst panel ever. I am never coming back.
well, shameless
Terrible.
plug on Frazzlecast. The gnome trains derail all the time, so shameless plug. And, so Frostee, What what kind what kind of changes to gameplay do you believe we'll learn about at BlizzCon?
All right. I mean, it wouldn't be a BlizzCon pre-show without like something crazy. So I'm going to go out there and say that they're going to finally get rid of the like increasing the level cap. It's done. No more. The story and questing will be driven by some other thing that you'll want to do, and you don't have to grind out levels, and that will be great. And I can just explore
Wow.
the story as I want.
Yeah.
Love it.
Interesting.
cool.
Interesting.
And Berserker, how about
Yes,
you?
sir. One, there shall not be a single allied race until Vrykul are in the game. And I know
Yes.
there are employees watching this thing. Please, dear God, let us Viking folk come into the world.
It'd
Just
be
Imagine how
Vrykul.
big their
5
mouth
minutes.
would be, too.
I don't want to have to put on a trinket to be a Vrykul. All right, I'm just going to throw that out there. Two, we are not some third world parliamentary nation. We can't have a bunch of different factions running around out there. It's two Horde Alliance. That's it. Don't give me this other nonsense. You don't want to be in a faction. Go play Hello Kitty Island. Get out of here with that nonsense. Three.
That battle.
Is that the new Island Expedition?
I am all about this getting rid of the leveling business, because here's what we can do instead. You want to break the cycle? Get rid of levels entirely. Do it by achievements for questing through each zone. Then,
Totally.
hey, we got a new
That'd be cool.
land. You've seen it. You've explored it. You know what's up. You know where the basics are. All right, cool. You've now got your Pathfinder. You've now reached what we need you to see in an expansion. You don't have to worry about grinding or any of these other things. It's an MMO. There's always going to be a grind of some kind. I totally understand it. I'm not saying that, like, down with levels, they're terrible forever. But that could be a way forward to try something different. And that would be wholly revolutionary to a game that has been tied to the 1 to 60 process, then the 60 to 70 process, and so on and so forth. And now you're looking as a new player at potentially, if it follows suit, right, 130 levels if we go another 10 on the next expansion. That is a daunting task for somebody who was brand new. This is
Yeah.
a big-ass game and a huge world, no pun intended. And that's a lot to absorb for a new person. And if you're now, let's say, doing the recruit a friend, and you bring somebody on board and you want to get them up as soon as possible, they're looking at it's family friendly. They're looking at 130 levels and they're going, forget you, bro. I don't have time for that. I just want to jump in and go. And yeah, okay, there's things to help you out, all that. But getting rid of levels would be, I think, a way to bridge that gap. Enhancing mission tables. We seem to like mission tables. Keep them around. Fine. I love having champions. Follow me around. Do my bidding. Get me more resources. Cool. I don't have to do it while I'm in game because I'm old and I'm a dad and I work and I go to Little League practices and I don't have time to play 40 hours a week. Help me out. I could, load up on my app. There we go.
Yes.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Hit that mission table. Is it sexy and exciting? Hell no, it's not. But it sure is damn convenient. So, smoothing out some of those processes and enhancing those, and then, finding whatever replacement we have for the Heart of Azeroth. Maybe we build our own weapons. Maybe we have some other kind of system in place. Cool. Let's do it. So that's I'm gonna throw those out there.
I like it. I like it.
And Allie, we will end with you on this
Hi.
question.
There's 3 different things I can see changing potentially. In terms of the whole faction divide, I can see there's still being Horde Alliance, but a third faction, maybe more neutral-ish, that maybe we can choose to join.
DEHTA.
Like, maybe. But no, like, I could see, like, the Night Elves are a great example. I can see them being a part of that. Because at this point, I don't think they want to be a part of either faction. So I can see potentially a third faction. I can see not like 4 factions, 5 factions, whatever, just a third. Like, I can see that. And that way, that solves the whole issue of those who still want to be Alliance versus Horde, they'll still get that. So maybe. I can also see a change with the whole Titan Forging, War Forging system. Because we have that now. They've already talked about the corruption gear coming out. That could be our bridge gap between what we have now versus what's going to happen in the next expansion. Whatever that system is going to be, I don't know yet. But I know there's a lot of people who are kind of a little over the RNG of Titan forging and war forging and everything. And so corruption temporarily could just be a little bit of bridge gap between the two. Maybe. And then I could see them potentially exploring more of what they're doing with the horrific visions, where you can have 1 to 5 people in the group. And I can see them doing more of that in dungeons or different scenarios or whatever, based on how we, the player base, respond to 8.3. If it goes well, if people are enjoying it, which I think they will, I think I can see them doing more with that and letting us kind of be more flex with how many people we bring into dungeons and raids and scenarios and whatever else they concoct over there, Blizzard.
I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
So, Allie, I'm going to start with you on this next one. So we've talked about what we see, but I want to hear, and you can be as far off as you want, like me wanting Nomergon. I won't go there because we don't have enough time on that. What kind of news about the next expansion would need to be revealed to make your WoW dreams come true?
Well, I'm pretty excited about whatever the next expansion is going to be either way, but I would very personally, I might be the only one that feels this way. I'm kind of over the whole mission table thing. It's been a couple expansions. I'm kind of done with it. I'm also kind of done with the whole this piece of gear that we need to grind power for. I know it's MMO, and I know that Blizzard needs to find ways to keep us playing. I get that. I understand it. I respect it. I just personally am a little just burned out with the whole grinding power for one item thing. And player housing. I want it. I need it. Guild housing, that would be okay. But and now I know everyone's like garrisons. I don't want garrisons. I want something different. But I want something that I can customize more and just have fun with. I do want my little pets running around like in the garrison because that was awesome. But just something a little more individual that you can customize and have some fun with.
So, Berserker,
Mm-hmm.
I know you've got dreams.
Many shattered dreams upon the shores of life.
Oh.
Why? Which one do you want to bring up now?
Oh boy.
I want to bring up.
Is that why you're
I
so
mean-
jaded?
What would turn
When you stare into the abyss stares back at you.
So, what news
Sorry,
about the
yes.
expansion would need to be revealed so I could hear a ballad the same way that when you sing that
Ooh.
song from Neverending Story? I want to hear those
Uh,
juicy vocals.
You know, more than Vrykul, more than maybe even the Viking truck being in game, more than any of these things. Really, the one thing that I would love to see is the Lich King 2 Electric Boogaloo. Gets me so excited. If they rolled that out, holy crap! I would buy all the merch, and I would just go running naked through the streets, just screaming in glee. In the
No,
middle of the night
I don't need that
because,
image. I don't need that image. No.
you know, I'm a huge mark for all things Lich King. I don't care if it's the Bolvar
Yeah.
or the Arthas version. I will eat it all up with a spoon and twice on Sunday. I love it. I see all these people. Let Arthas die. Don't let Arthas die. Dig his ass up. Get him out here. I want to see that soul. Come on, let's do it. Like I don't get tired of it. And there's huge plot threads out there, and there's all kinds of stuff kind of diving in on it. For me,
Yeah, I'd like that.
that's what I want to see. And even if it puts a bow on that and it finally ends it, right? Okay, all the Scourge is finally destroyed somewhere along the lines, and Sylvanas is gone, and you know, we all finally have to move on from the Lich King. I'm sure I would find a way. But as somebody who loves the novel Arthas by Christy Golden, I got it right down there. And
so
it's one of my favorite books, not just of any, you know, Warcraft book, of any book. I love reading that book.
Yeah.
The whole lore, all of that stuff, it's so deeply ingrained in what I think of as Warcraft, right? Like when I'm listening to Hammerfall, which is one of my favorite bands, and somebody who Samwise Didier does all of their cover art for, or at least most of it. You know, that's like kind of the era that goes through my mind as I'm just kind of spacing out and jamming out, is Northrend and the Lich King and just the icy cold. And, you know, it's just, it's so heavy in that kind of lore that I could never get enough of it. And so if we head back there, baby, you got me good.
So Frostee, just don't give me a mental image now. I Berserker talked about being naked and bows, and I'm just like, what would make you howl about Wild Dreams?
Speaking of going back, it's time to go back to Gilneas. And, you know, if anything, the Forsaken are weak. It's time to retake the area. Heck, why don't we just retake everything around there? That sounds good to me. Make Gilneas the new hub city to launch, you know, our, I don't know, trips to the Dragon Isles or whatever is going to come next. Outside of that, I think, you know, after all these years, I'm finally coming around on player housing. And I think that Clanker could probably come up with some goblin in the lore that would corner the real estate market and allow us to not only just get player housing like in a hub city, but like in a whole bunch of different zones. There's just like a different like lot you can buy or customize.
I
Or
like
whatever.
it.
So
So you mean somebody other than Gallywix? Is that what you're?
Gazlo.
Yeah.
He built
Yeah.
Orgrimmar, people. Come on.
Valid
There we
point.
go.
Yeah, valid point.
Gazlo's just going to retire and
comparison.
become a real estate mogul.
Interesting.
He deserves a lot of love. That man's been building a lot of things.
Yeah.
Goblin.
Do you really consider building a couple big doors at the both ends of a canyon, building a city?
Excuse you.
Wow.
Oh.
You just threw down. You're in trouble.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, I grew up in Orgrimmar. I don't want to hear this right now.
I have one question. I have one real serious question about Orgrimmar, though. Are those doors actually waterproof? Like, are they watertight? Because I have a solution.
Oh no.
What?
A
Is
final
the next
solution?
expansion about global warming? What's going on here?
Where are we going here?
Okay,
The next
Gerissar,
expansion is melting Northrend to raise the ocean.
teach everybody about climate change. Yes. Gerissar, I think you're underwater. I think you need to swim up to the surface now. What are your dreams about WoW? What would make you happy? What would make your blood flow other than PvP? I mean, it could be PvP.
PvP wise, I really like the maps. I like a lot of the maps they're bringing in. Bringing in a bunch of these epic BGs, so bringing back Winter Spring or Wintergrass, bringing back Ashran. Although I haven't really played Ashran, I never really played it to begin with, but I know some people still really enjoy that. I really enjoy that stuff. For esports side, what they've done with the Mythic Dungeon Invitationals is amazing, and the arenas I think is really good. It show the gameplay. Sometimes it's a little slow, but it's really good. I really hope that there's some more push on the 6v6 rated battleground side for the esports, and I would love to see more brawls in the 6v6 side in game. I think the brawls are really fun, and I would love to see more of that. Otherwise, that in game, again, like same great ideas. I'm sick and tired of grinding out to overpower one item, and I'll be honest. I mean, it's called Azerite. It's Azeroth. It's the planet of a baby titan inside of it. We're literally sucking the energy out of our world. At one point, this thing's going to wake up and it's going to be pissed about, you know, if you as a person found a bunch of leeches on your body once you woke up, what are you going to do?
She's gonna have
Did I
her
pay for that
revenge.
experience?
Nice little leech. No, you're
You
going to
said
scourge those
Revenge
things.
of Azeroth earlier.
Right. Like, so I agree. I think we should stop sucking the power out of our own world and being oblivious to what we're actually doing, even though we have a diamond dwarf telling us to do this because it's to help.
We're still
whatever.
talking about Warcraft, right? I'm just.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are still talking about. Okay, good. I'm just
Yeah.
sorry, just checking.
No worries. You're right, though. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of analogies. There's a bunch of crossover lines there that really kind of
Lot of
points out a
social-
bunch of stuff. It is.
A lot of
And-
social commentary.
It is. And I appreciate it because it does create that conversation. It makes people kind of in the back of their head aware. As far as actual like where they're gonna go, I can't say anything was gonna really make my dreams. The one thing that would make my dreams come true is if the next expansion actually, if it goes back to the divide of Horde and Alliance, it keeps the divide and doesn't go back to the cookie cutter where we all become kumbaya at the end of the expansion. That's the one thing that would keep me happy.
Like a continually growing animosity between the two factions.
Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and Warcraft 3. At what point at the end of those battles did we all become kumbaya-ish at the end? No, somebody died and somebody won the war.
Warcraft 3.
Well, okay, fair. Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 then.
Yeah. The whole imprisoning orcs in internment camp stuff that most people gloss over. Like, no, the Alliance is great. They have a perfect track record. Nothing bad happened. Here we go.
Nothing to
Don't
see
have a
here.
horde bias, I swear.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
And just like the orcs never interned a whole bunch of Draenei and then sucked their souls out of energy so that they could try to transport to another planet.
Ooh.
That was a different planet. That doesn't count.
Atrocities on both sides.
I just
The
want to
list
know
is
where I
long.
could pay for this Tuesday night leech tickle thing you're talking about.
Oh, wait, what?
I went in a weird direction, and I'm not sure why.
Is that gonna be on the companion app too, or is
I feel like that's
That's
the
a
new
different
working
kind of
title
app.
for this podcast.
this part of the Thirsty Dragons expansion pack I was mentioning?
Man,
I think we
Berserker,
have a title.
Bring
We
that
got a
one right
title
back
for the
out of
show.
Berserker, you have some strange dreams.
Someone's got to dream them, baby. Might as well be me.
I wonder, does Clanker dream of Stranger Things, or what is Clanker's dream?
Oh boy. Again, I'll try and keep my list short because I have a list of demands.
A manifesto of sorts. Like everything involves rocketry and explosives.
You know, like when in the cartoons when they have that list and it goes out the door, you're like, okay, where to start? So we're gonna start with demand number 1. I think for playable races, I would love there not to be a mammalian race. Like, I'd love there to be the Arakoa or the Sethrak. Those were so cool. Why didn't they come on? I know that was one of those things where I talked about silhouettes. I know they have really different silhouettes and they don't really match up to any of the, current ones we have. But that would have been so cool, you guys. Like, that's never utilized in video games. You always have to be a mammal of some variety. And I'm tired of it. Tired, I tell you. Except for like Elder Scrolls, which, Sneeple. So anyway, that aside, one of the things I'm really hoping for the next expansion, we talked about it could be Shadowlands. I'd really like an expansion kind of focused around death, because that kind of seems where they're leaning with this. We've got Sylvanas, we've got Kalia, we've got Derek Proudmoore. We've had a lot of people that have gone through a lot of, I would say, both changes, but they also have kind of they've interacted with death in interesting ways. We have Juan Samdi, we have the Lich King, and I think that's something I'd really like to see more of, because we don't know much about the Shadowlands. We don't know much about how you go through the Shadowlands. Like, we had that weird thing where Illidan's like, yes, I see you have a soul like mine body, and I'm like, that's a thing, I guess. But what does that mean? Like, where is that? We have our fancy little chart that's like, yes, here's Undeath and here's Shadow, and I'm like, yeah, but overlap in an area, question marks. So
what if the reason why they finally got Goblin and Worgen models updated was so that they can move on to like an expansion where like all the models, like as the expansion goes on, you slowly die and you have to figure out like how to like reverse the process. So slowly all of us are becoming undead.
So basically real life is what you're talking about. And as the oldest guy on this show, I know exactly what
This is really metal tonight. Wow.
I like it.
But I was just going to say, in conclusion, one of the things that I love that they've brought back is kind of the really eerie, creepy vibe. Like, Drustvar was an amazing zone. I was really happy to see them bring back creepy, grungy, scary things. Like, people that have pig heads sewn on them. And that was creepy, right? Like the noises, the sounds. I miss having things like Karazhan, things that are mysterious and scary, and like the parts of Karazhan that were cut that you can go into. You see those kinds of things. You're like, why is WoW so colorful and happy? Where is the creepy stuff? So
Wait till you see horrific visions.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm talking about. It's going to be really fun to watch the world of Warcraft become something that isn't as bright and colorful. Everyone's always talking about how it's kind of Disney-fied. I want that to go in the opposite direction. I want it to be scary. I want to be, hugging one of my plushies and maybe crying softly in the corner, being like, I just saw something and I don't know what it is. It's not part of the lore and I'm so confused.
The bright colors of the Druid expansions are over.
Exactly. The old gods have come. So that's what I'm hoping for. I love watching the artists really kind of expand and kind of go crazy, just do new things that we haven't seen. And so I'm very excited. That's my wish list. I want eerie, creepy things to come back into Warcraft, and I love the mystery of that. So I'm hoping for more Drustbar-like adventures and zones.
And
I'm good now. I have a long list, but we'll cut it off there.
So we're at what, 2 out of...
I mean, I told you the list goes out the door, so if you want me to...
Sounds like your list is as long as the bugs in Warcraft.
Well, I'm a QA person, so I'm like, that one doesn't break the game. It's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I actually, one of the things I was really happy about this expansion is I got a lot of the things I wanted. I got to go back to Kazan. I got Goblin lore. Goblins are actually talking. We get Gallywix. He's actually voiced. We get to learn a bit more about his character. And I know people have kind of hinted to me that he's going to continue on in the story. So it's nice to have goblins as a race be closer to the forefront. And Christine Golden has been wonderful, and she writes wonderful goblins. And so it's just been I got a lot of my wish list, so I'm like all happy. I have to come up with new demands to put at the end of my very long list.
We're goblins and we have demands.
We do. We have to stand on stools to get noticed, but we do have demands.
Or have really shiny orbs of power at the end of your cane.
Yes. Just totally... I don't want to say it was a retcon, but you're like, there's some... It's fine. It's fine, you guys. It's fine.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
Okay. Nothing to see here. Move along. Just destroying the planet per the usual. Totally wasn't Deathwing. It was totally us mining or something. Yep.
And Tosh, when you aren't doing your college assignments and you're just kind of daydreaming out the window, what dreams about World of Warcraft are you having?
Okay, so I'm going to kind of lightning round this because we've been on this topic for a long time. I'm going to player housing. Agreed. Don't really want another garrison because I go back to my garrison now and it's just embarrassing. These are this is going to seem, and I don't know if anybody's ever thought about. I brought this up. Partnering, kind of like sticky friend invites is another way to look at it, right? Like a lot of people, Talib and I we primarily play together. And so every time we, come on and one of us throws on, I typically am flying my Drake, 2-person mount. I'll summon up the Drake and she'll have to she's listening right now. She's laughing. She's going to say, we're not friends. We're not connected. I can't get on. And I was like, why can't this just be permanent? Why can't I just say, okay, I am permanently partnered with this person like I've done in other virtuals? And that's probably such a specific, unique thing to, but I know a lot of people who play consistently with the same person. So I would like that. I think both Talib and I would like that. Stop gating professions behind dungeons and raids.
Yes.
I know the reason. I know why or I think I know, or I think I understand why they're trying to drive people more back to the social. If you want this, you have to participate in group type activities. But not everybody has the time. Not everybody has the wherewithal. Some people are misanthropic like me, so it can be hard, to gate significant profession things behind dungeons and raids. Planker, I said I was going to come back to this. Now this is something Talib threw out there. It's something I'm not familiar with. Bard class.
That would
be fun.
Bard class.
Have so much fun with that.
Yeah, and I've been honestly, when she mentioned it, I had trouble getting my head around it. But that was like I had to throw that in there because that was on her wish list. I delete. So that was it. I said I was going to lightning round that. You know, but
Well done.
Berzerker, unless you want to throw Hello Kitty Island. By the way,
Everybody needs to stop there every once in a while.
Yeah. By the way, thank you for introducing me to Hammerfall. I found out about Hammerfall from listening to your show. Thank you for introducing me to Hammerfall.
Yes,
Always happy to spread the word of metal worldwide.
Yep.
I've listened to them a lot recently.
Yep.
And
I have to check
Clanker,
these guys out.
just like your long list, I had a long list, and if anybody who's podcast with me knows, I've got a long list of questions. And sometimes it gets whittled down. Well, tonight due to time, I whittled down a few questions. But okay, so we've been in Warcraft all evening because we're all kind of Warcraft people. But I want to kind of open up just a little bit of the speculation because there are, I think, 6 now, like 4 coming soon panels on Friday and 2 coming soon panels on Saturday. That's a lot of coming soon. And I want to ask, what are we going to get there? Are we going to get Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, new IP, WoW expansion, Netflix series like was mentioned before? I mean, what do you think we're going to get? So I'm going to start with Tosh and go up the list again because I like starting from the bottom up because gnomes are always on the bottom. So Tosh.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I didn't even know we were going to get to the question. I had the other one teed up. So you know, what's going to be there, guys? I don't know. New IP. You know what? I'm going to throw in the answer to the question I had that was in the notes. I think we made, personally, both, I would like to see potentially another mobile game. Don't everybody hate. I'd like to see, a pet battle, maybe VR, Pokemon Go-ish, but you get the pet in game.
Neat. That'd be cool.
That would be kind of interesting. I mean, is that what they're gonna do? I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if they did. Please, Netflix series, please.
Ooh, yeah, Netflix series would be awesome.
Yep.
So Clanker, how about you?
Well, that's tough because I mean, I've again tried to stay away from everyone trying to leak everything. I know there's a lot of hype around the possibility of Diablo 4 and an Overwatch 2. I think there's going to be Diablo something. I don't know if it's going to be Diablo 4. I mean, I know a lot of people hated on Immortal, I think it was. I played it and I loved it, so I'm actually excited to see if there's some news about it. Hopefully it didn't get nixed. But I don't know what's coming. Like, that's one of the things that I'm most excited about is I always think I'm going to know what's coming, and then they always surprise me. And I think that's one of the best parts about going to BlizzCon is just being in the room with the energy and everyone being like, what? What is this? And then there's that one guy who's like, yeah, I knew that. Which I usually sit next to, and I'm like, no, you didn't. It's a lie. But yeah, I think there's going to be Diablo, whether it's Diablo 4, is going to be some new IP. I don't know about an Overwatch 2. I guess I know that they want to probably try and breathe some more life into Overwatch. But I'm banking on there being a Warcraft expansion because that's usually a thing with the every other. But I don't know. It's also, I think, the 15th year of World of Warcraft. So I'm hoping there's going to be something cool with that, you know? And then, of course, Warcraft Reforged, I get to be like, again. So, avoiding the question, I don't know.
So Gerissar, I'm going to guess I'm still holding out that maybe that dev told you something.
Nope.
Okay. But what do you speculate?
Okay. Well, there was recently put out that we know there's going to be an Overwatch 2 now. That was recently announced, so I'm sure they'll be there. I expect Diablo 4. We know that they're going to do a Diablo 4. It was still cooking. They were actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to be talked about last BlizzCon, but it was pulled out at the last minute. Diablo Immortal, I thought was still a go, but there was some hiccup over on the China side who was developing it. So I'm expecting that we'll probably see something further on that. Maybe they'll do a better way in how they announce that, since everybody was expecting Diablo 4 and instead got something completely different. And that's, I think, caused a lot of churn there. Definitely going to see a WoW expansion. I'm expecting that there's going to be a new IP. There's been a very long time since they've had a new IP beyond Overwatch. With Overwatch 2 coming out and that iteration cycle coming up, I feel that there's time for them to talk about a new IP. We'll see if that actually happens or not. It may not. And then for the Netflix series, I would love to see a Netflix series. I would love to see something else on the mobile sphere. Either. I would love, and this is 2 years now, I think, that Carbot has shown up and done animations, and they're doing an animation series again this time. I would love, don't get me wrong, I love the cinematics. I love that gritty, realistic cinematics that they've been doing for these little shorts that they do, but there's a lot of work behind all that, and I get it. I would actually love if they paid and hired Carbot to do a Warcraft Netflix series, but use Carbot to have them do the Carbot animation for it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I think I would actually rather that, because don't you're like gritty's nice, but I kind of like the cartoony side. So that's me. That's it.
And Frostee, how about you?
So on top of like the other, expansions and other game announcements, again, pre-BlizzCon show, just going to go off the rails here. We know that like there's been all these rumors of, well, we want to do more mobile games, and maybe we've been thinking about Warcraft mobile games. And I think, well, what would be good at this time when other competitors in the market are relaunching games like Zoo Tycoon? Let's get an arms race Goblin arms race tycoon kind of game going with Gallywix, and that's going to be their new mobile game. And my wife would play the crap out of that because she loves tycoon games. And it's going to be something that no one expects.
She wouldn't be the
That would
only
actually
one.
be really cool.
And Berzerker, you are a tycoon that I love. What do
I
you
have no.
think?
I live in California. I don't have any money.
You don't need money, but you got love. But
It's true. I think the Overwatch news recently kind of took one of the quivers I had out of this whole thing, because that's PvE Overwatch is something I think everybody would be about, because that's a freaking rad universe, and who doesn't want to see more of that, right?
Yes.
Thanks a
I
lot,
think
ESPN.
Warcraft is pretty much spoken for at this point. So for me, two things. One, how about a animated Diablo Netflix series to go inside with whatever Diablo announcement they have for a game, which would also coincide with them having The Witcher. I think that would be a pretty badass lineup for those guys.
Yep.
But something for StarCraft. My God, I love StarCraft as much as I love Warcraft and everything that we've ever done in it. StarCraft holds like this really special place in my heart, and the fact that it just is, it kind of came to its conclusion. And granted, the tournament scene out there, I still love it. I still watch it. I'll stay up till freaking crazy hours watching dudes just wreck house, at all hours of the night, and I love it. But just even if it's a mobile game somehow or some kind of thing, I saw that the FPS didn't quite pan out, but something along those lines for StarCraft would be amazing. But here's the thing. I think one of the things I enjoy best about being a fan of Warcraft, of Blizzard, of all this stuff, is they are a hell of a lot smarter and more creative than I am. All I know is what I've seen and can only base my guesses off whatever pedestrian visions I think I have based on what has come before. And that's the beauty of this whole apparatus. They're great about coming up with the things that I know I can't think of, and a lot of other people won't think of either. So I hope it's honestly whatever's out there is something totally new, totally different, blows us away, and gets us talking about something we never thought. At today, right now, we have no idea. Come Friday night, it's all we're going to talk about. That's my greatest hope. But yeah, there we go. That's it.
Love it.
yeah.
Yep.
So, and then Allie, I know you've been in a lot of dungeons, and I'm gonna guess that maybe you found a clue somewhere, because like you've been finding hints to different expansions and different dungeons you've been going through.
I'm waiting to see what your segue was going to be. No, but for the longest time, I thought Overwatch PvE, which I am all about and I would play the heck out of, would just be a new game mode in Overwatch, but now it's looking like it might be a legit Overwatch 2, so we'll see. I think Diablo 4 is a given. I'm thinking that StarCraft will get some kind of mobile something. And I'm wondering if the cover art was a bit of a hint to that. Maybe. Like I said earlier, WoW expansion, Azeroth's Revenge. I think that's what we're getting. I'm sticking with that name. It's probably wrong. I'm sure it's wrong. I'm sticking with it though. I would love some kind of Netflix series of whatever, because Blizzard creates these amazing worlds with such rich story, and I would love to see it explored on some kind of series type thing. And I am actually convinced we're going to get a new IP. For years and years and years, they've been saying how many games they have in the incubator that they're working on. And yeah, we've heard stories of ones being scrapped here and there, but I think they have something, and I think they're going to show us, because they know that this is a BlizzCon. They need to knock out of the park. And even if it's just some kind of teaser trailer and one panel of what they're thinking about for the game, I think we're getting something. And it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be massive, and I can't wait.
Hey, I just want to throw one thing in here. Who else wants to see Christy Golden walk up on stage and get an Emmy Award writing?
Yes.
I love her.
Who wants to see her get an Emmy Award?
Yes.
Anybody besides me? There we go.
Well, what's
All
great
right.
too is, I don't know if any of you have had the chance to actually meet her, but she was at Denver Comic Con last year, and I got her to sign the Before the Storm book I have. And she was just so genuine and so kind, and I love her. So she not only does she write amazing things, but her personality is just wonderful, and I love her.
Well, I think that Allie, you need to also realize that there are people out there who, I mean, Christy's great, but there are people that are like, Allie's great. And before we wrap this up, I would like to remind everyone that this is just the beginning of World of Podcast 2019. So the rest of this year's panels are part of Con Before the Storm, powered by Wowhead. So Con Before the Storm is a party that celebrates the community, the awesome community that is formed across all Blizzard games. And if you're in the Southern California area, you can attend the party for free, whether you plan on attending BlizzCon or not. So the festivities take place on Thursday, October 31st, from 5 p.m. to midnight on the second floor of the Anaheim Hilton, and we'll bring the house down. In addition to World Podcast panels, we have an amazing art gallery along with community vendors. And also throughout the night, there'll be content creators, just like the ones that you've seen on this panel, and other well-known individuals in the community. They can be found at our meet and greet table starting at 6 p.m. But if you can't attend World of Podcast in person, worry not. You can listen to our panel presentations on the World of Podcast feed, and in some cases on the feeds of our participating podcasters. So thank you to everyone for coming to the panel tonight. We had a great time on the Frosty Bunch. Thank you, Zendar, for the feedback live in chat.
We all look and we look.
So I do want to say the last 2 years I went to BlizzCon, I went to the World of Podcasts and to the Con Before the Storm, and I had an absolute blast. Met some amazing people, nothing but friendly. Not just people behind the tables that are there as content providers, but just everybody there that is community driven, community minded, and just all want to have a good time and talk about their favorite games. So I highly recommend if you're in town, even if you aren't going to BlizzCon, like you said, you don't have to have a BlizzCon badge to walk into the World of Podcasts or into the Con Before the Storm. Go and check it out. It is an amazing time.
Absolutely. Everyone that I've ever talked to who's been to Con Before the Storm said it is worth the money. Oh no, it's free. It's worth more than the money. Foot and mouth again.
Free always fits in the budget.
So I hope those listening give each of the shows here a listen. There are some insanely talented people on this panel. And before we go, I would like each of you to say your show and a new universal battle cry to replace "For the Alliance" or "For the Horde." So we'll start with Allie.
Well, Allie from Dungeon Fables and All Things Azeroth, and I say, for Azeroth's Revenge.
And Berzerker.
This is Berzerker from the Unshackled Fury podcast saying unto you, for the glory of Azeroth.
And Frostee.
This is Frostee from the Worgen's Howl, and I say, for the downfall of Sylvanas.
And Gerissar.
Well, hey, this is Gerissar from Technically PvP. And I guess my best would be, let's just make PvP great again.
Wow. Katie, can you top that?
I don't know if I can, but this is Katie from the Tauren and the Goblin. And time is Azeroth, friends, or time is Azerite.
Good.
And last but not least, Toshmifune.
Toshmifune here from the Halfhill Report. You've never pronounced it once. You never pronounced it right, Fazl. I'm going to call you on it this time, man. I'm going to call you on it this time. I've let it go so many times. I got to call you on it. All right. Toshmifune here from the Halfhill Report. And make your own turnip, everyone.
I love it.
Thank you for listening to this presentation from World of Podcasts and Con Before the Storm, powered by Wowhead. World of Podcasts 2019 was made possible thanks to our community backers via Kickstarter, Wowhead, and Medieval Times in Buena Park, California. Go to medievaltimes.com to learn more about how you can witness an epic battle of steel and steed. You can also follow @MedievalTimesCA on Twitter. For the latest news, information, and guides for World of Warcraft, check out wowhead.com. This podcast was a production of and is copyrighted by D20 Creative Alliance. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted without written consent from D20 Creative Alliance. The views and opinions expressed are those of individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of D20 Creative Alliance, Wowhead, or our sponsors. To learn more about World of Podcasts or Con Before the Storm, go to conbeforestorm.com.